is Professor Samuel Gyasi Obeng, Distinguished Professor of Linguistics, Indiana University, Bloomington, Indiana, USA. Professor Samuel Gyasi Obeng received his BA Linguistics from the University of Ghana, his Doctor of Philosophy, D.Phil, from the University of York, England, specializing in language and linguistics, science, with emphasis on phonetics, phonology and pragmatics, and postdoctoral research training in linguistics at UCLA. He held a full-time academic appointment at the University of Ghana and part-time appointments at the Ghana Institute of Journalism and the University of Cape Coast from 1988 to 1994. He was the radio teacher for GBC's Everyday English program and also taught English language for JSS and SSS on GBC radio. Professor Obeng joined Indiana University's Linguistics Department in 1994. He was tenured and promoted to associate professor in 2000 and to full professor in 2006. In 2022, he was appointed a distinguished professor of linguistics by the Board of Trustees of Indiana University for his outstanding research and scholarship. Professor Obeng has directed the African Studies Program 2007 to 2015 and currently directs the West African Languages Institute and the newly established Indiana University Ghana Gateway as its academic director. He has served as Director of Graduate Studies and Undergraduate Studies and also coordinated languages at Indiana University. A leading African linguist, Professor Obeng is a pioneer researcher on phonetic resources unique to discourse participants in specific interactional settings, and also a pioneer and leader in research on language and liberty, expression of liberty through resistive speech in African political and judicial discourse. Professor Obeng is also a leader in onomasiology, where his work weaves together multiple languages to demonstrate the pragmatic and linguistic richness of anthroponymy and toponymy. He is a major authority on African pragmatics and discourse analysis. Professor Obeng has written 36 books and edited volume research publications. He has co-edited 55 service edited journals, including special volumes, publications, 140 journal research articles, book chapters, and creative writing articles, and 17 book and article reviews. He has 13 monograph essays, 7 journal articles and book chapters, and 2 creative works in progress. Professor Obeng has won several important awards and honors, including being a 2-time Carnegie African Diaspora Fellow, Distinguished Research Scholar, University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Association of Commonwealth Universities Scholar, McGraw-Hill Distinguished Scholar Award, and Language Specialist Consultant for important publishers, for example, Oxford University Press. He is regularly invited as a plenary keynote speaker at conferences and as an external examiner and or evaluator for leading universities in Africa, Asia, Europe, Oceania, the Americas, and the Greater Middle East. He has served as primary investigator for U.S. Department of Education, Title VI grants, co-investigator for Department of State grants, and hosted over 30 Fulbright scholars from Africa at Indiana University. Professor Obeng was the editor-in-chief of 3 internationally refereed journals, Africa Today, Issues in Political Discourse, and Issues Intercultural Communication. Besides being a linguist, Professor Obeng is also a poet, with 2 of his book of poems being A Nation in Crisis 2020 and Voices from the Graves, Words of Wisdom and Caution from the Departed, 2008. He also writes short stories with his most recent book, Tales from My Ancestral Homeland, published by the African World Press, 2024. Between 2000 and 2008, Professor Obeng wrote political satire in a Ghanaian newspaper under different pen names. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I present to you our speaker, Professor Samuel Gyasi Obeng.
Vice President AYEE, President Opokunti, Vice President Khan, Associate Vice President Miguel Leon, Professor Dolphine, my mother and my mentor. Yeah, she thought I didn't see her. Honorable scholars, Council of the Fellow, honorary fellows, students, faculty, friends, and since I don't have any enemies yet, I don't have to say enemies. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. It's a privilege for me to share some of my research with you. In particular, for the past couple of years, I've been interested in language and law, some of which I will share next year when I deliver the Damco Memorial Lectures. But today, I'd like to talk mainly about language and liberty and how they interlace, intertwine, entwine, interconnect. You see, I'm doing something that I'll tell you later not to do, in Ghanaian political space, the Ghanaian political sphere. Now, there are people that I think I should thank, but because of the time that we have, I mean, there's a time crunch, isn't it? So I'm going to say thank you to everyone, all those who helped to make this possible. I want to say thank you. Kate Buampong, I don't know where she is now, but she's phenomenal. You know, she always responded to my emails, and she will tell you I'm very troublesome. I wrote sometimes in the middle of the night, and a minute later she will respond. You know, and by the way, today is my 65th birthday, so I'm old. In the United States, when you hit 65, you are old. When you hit 75, you are very old. And when you hit 85, you are very, very old. So I'm old. Now, the topic for this lecture is language and liberty in Ghanaian political discourse. And I understand I can move this. There you go. So I'm going to cut a lot of things because of the time. I mean, I don't want to keep you here forever. So this is how the talk is organized. I'm going to talk about language. I will define what language is. It's going to be difficult, but I will walk us through it. And then I'll talk about... Oh, so I'm doing the wrong thing. Okay, so this is not working. All right, let me put this down. Then I'll talk about liberty, what it is, and how I view it. My views are very different, I have to say, from the way you see it in the literature. And then I'll talk about politics. What is it? What is politics? And what is political discourse? What makes the discourse in political spheres an institutional discourse? I'll talk about it. And then I'll talk very briefly, maybe a minute or so, about the data that I'm using, and then the methodology that I use in my analysis. Then I'll move on to talk about the theoretical orientation of this lecture. In other words, within what theory do I analyze, or my analysis, framed in? I'll talk about that. And then I'll move on to subject political text and talk to empirical inspection. And then of course I will draw some, I'll look at the discussion, which again will be very different than you will find, or from what you will find in various papers and books that you will read. That tells you I'm a little troublesome, but that's okay. And then I will draw some conclusions. So let's talk about language. Well, the British linguist Sir David Crystal gives a wonderful definition of language, and I'm not going to read it. I'm sure you can see it for this. Well, let me try and read it maybe. A system of conventional spoken, manual, or written symbols, with which or through which humans communicate. And then, of course, the Swiss linguist Ferdinand de Saussure, look at language from the point of view of langue and parole. Langue is the arbitrary system that we have, as individuals, say that anybody who is either a native speaker of English, a native speaker of English, or has studied some English, will know that what I'm speaking is English. We share that. And then there's the parole, which is the act of speaking, like I'm doing now. Language is abstract, and speech is concrete. All right? And then I've also indicated here, that language is first and foremost a cognitive experience. Language is a cognitive experience. This is the human mind. It is situated in the frontal lobe of the brain, the place where that is used for thinking and remembering and stuff like that. And you will find that I have proposed, it's also located in the same area of the brain. Okay, those in neuroscience will tell you how the angular gyrus and all these nerves connect language with social behavior and stuff like that. Or how, for example, if somebody was shot in the head, and or someone had a stroke, or someone had aphasia, which is language impairment resulting from brain damage, you can tell, by opening the person's skull and using electrodes, which part of the brain is dead, or which part of the brain needs repair. And that confirms language being situated in the frontal lobe of the brain. Okay? And then, of course, one thing that I've also indicated here is that language is constituted by mental images. I don't like turning around that way, so let me also use this. Yes, language is, what do you call it? I want to make sure I get it right. Yeah. It's constituted by mental images. And if language is constituted by mental images, then basically what we are saying is that, we can connect language with things that either we see or sometimes we don't even see. And later on I'll talk more about it. Even though there's something like Santa Claus, we talk about it. We can use language to talk about it. Okay? Language is inventive. Look, as I'm standing here, I can say a sentence that I've never said before. Here's the sentence I want to say. I can see Mr. Boche, Miguel, Hillary, Techua, Kofi. I've never said this sentence before, and yet I've created it. And I've been very arrogant in doing it. I've used their first names, which I shouldn't. Okay? So the point I'm indicating here is that, with language, we can say sentences or we can create sentences that we've never created or said before. And then also, language adjusts to our cultural, okay? And this is very important, our intellectual, legal, we can go on listing, political, religious, and socio-cultural practices. Our culture, in fact, I like how the French put it. For the French people, French is a culture. The French language is a culture. Say that it's kind of interesting. If you go to Quebec, for example, Quebec, province in Canada, the French orthography must always be in capital and the English in small letters. The French are very particular about things. They love their language. So language is the people, in effect. Now, language is actualized through speech. But one thing that we should know is that speech isn't just a community of sounds. Let me give an example. It doesn't mean anything, does it? If I say, no, speech isn't just a community of sounds. What it means is that speech combines sounds with aerodynamic features, such as pitch, loudness, tempo, rhythm. I'm your teacher, aren't I? I'm your teacher, aren't I? If I say I'm your teacher, aren't I? Okay, I'm your teacher, aren't I? I'm expecting you to agree with me. But if I say I'm your teacher, aren't I? I'm expecting you to say something, say that if you don't respond, it may be that you are angry with me. Okay? So, the tune that one uses, the prosody, can help change meaning or help us to understand what is being said. Now, then also, let me move on. Let me also put you there so that you can also see what I'm saying. Prosodies are used in the performance of various discourse routines: joy, fear, affection, disbelief, and we can go on and on. For joy, I can say, hey, Papi, whoopee, that's beautiful. Okay? I'm happy. Now, fear, hey, yikes, are you trying to kill us? Okay? Affection, Gyasi, the love of my life, until, of course, they find a new one. But I will not say that, because if I say it, I'll be in trouble. Surprise. What a beauty. You look so gorgeous. Dejection, ahumtio. It sucks. Life sucks. Or contempt. Get out of here. To hell with you. Okay? So, with these prosodies, we can express these various affective situations. Joy, surprise, fear, and whatever have you. In fact, prosody, like pitch, loudness, tempo, rhythm, could sometimes be used to distinguish words which are otherwise identical. Let's give examples from English, where we would distinguish between nouns and verbs. Insult, insult. Increase, increase. Import, import. When I put a stress on the first syllable, as in, okay, I'm dealing with a noun. But if I put it on the last syllable, salt, insult, insult. Okay? So we have two sentences here, for example. The present behavior is an insult on our sensibilities. I'm using the insult as a noun. Okay? The president insulted our sensibilities. I'm using it as a verb. Now, intonation may be used to form various discourse features, such as the case, and I've given an example here. He's a good president, isn't he? The president's wife was very intelligent, wasn't she? Isn't he? Wasn't she? But if I say, he's a good president, isn't he? I'm expecting you to say something, to agree with me or to disagree with me. And in fact, if you don't say anything, it means you don't like what I'm saying. Okay? The president's wife was very intelligent, wasn't she? Okay? Now, in our Ghanaian languages, and I'm glad Professor Dolphine is here. She was the one who taught me phonology. Tone could be used to distinguish between words that are otherwise identical. Let me give the example that is overly given. Papa, 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 okay? Papa in a can, papa, goodness, okay? Papa, father, papa, fan, papa, 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 Yeah. You know, what is interesting here is how the pitch height is used to distinguish between words whose compositions in terms of vowels and consonants are the same. I've given examples here. Kofi di fufu, Kofi is fufu. Kofi di amechi, Kofi is walking behind Ama, so di. Okay? Now, tone may even be used to distinguish between a habitual action and a possible future action. Kofi bedi ama fufu, bedi, okay? No, sorry, Kofi bedi, papa, okay? Kofi bedi ama fufu, Kofi comes to eat ama fufu, Kofi must also start cooking. And then, Kofi bedi ama fufu, Kofi will eat. So we're distinguishing with tone, we're distinguishing between what? A habitual action and a future action. Okay? Now, an interesting part of language, and I'll kind of go through some of this, not all of it, is the concept of meaning. Many a time, we hear political actors especially, and by the way, I refer to them as political actors, not politicians, because I see the world as a theater of chaos. And these actors insert themselves into the chaos, some causing more chaos than others. But at the end of the day, each and every one of them causes a little bit of chaos. If you don't believe me, look at American politics. And I won't say more than that. Now, so many a time what we hear political actors say is, that isn't what I meant. So the question is, what is the meaning of meaning? What's the meaning of meaning? In fact, since 1978, I've never used a dictionary. Why? Because dictionaries give synonyms, and synonyms are dangerous. If you want to test what I'm saying, take an English word, look it up. These days you can look words up in your iPhone, on your iPhone and whatever. Take an English word, look it up. There may be about 4 or 5 synonyms that are given. Take any one of those words, look it up. There may be 10. Take it. By the time you get to the 5th trial, you are back to where you are. So dictionaries, we say that the meanings they give is secularity. They take you around and bring you back. They're not helpful. And then, of course, there's vacuousness. They are senseless most of the time. Let me give a typical example. Let's assume I'm at the hospital and you came to visit me, okay, and you ask, Sammy, Obeng, how are you? Obeng, how are you? Or how are you, Obeng? Okay? The how are you there is different than, for example, if you met me in the streets or on the streets and you ask me, hey, Sam, how are you? At the hospital, the how are you means, how are you recuperating? How are you getting well? How are you recuperating, okay? But when you meet me on the street, how are you is just saying hi. It has nothing to do with me being sick, okay? The point I'm saying here is that words don't mean anything. It is only when you put them in a context that they mean something, okay? Now, I've listed here philosophical semantics, words, mental images. Let me talk about mental images. Those are the funniest ones. Now, if I should ask you, anybody here, to list or to tell me or to give me 2 names of birds, okay, depending on where you live, most people are going to say a robin, a sparrow, How many of you will say a penguin? Do you know a penguin? Those are the guys who walk like this, How many of you are going to say a penguin is a bird? People will think you are a stick upstairs, or even an ostrich. Well, this is the way I put it. Some birds are birdier than others. You will not find birdier in the dictionary. I'm creating it as a linguist. In fact, quite recently, Oxford University added poto as an English word. We've added a couple of keywords to Oxford English Dictionary. And it's because these words have found their way into Caribbean Creole, so they're used as part of the Creole English over there, and they're coming back into English. Okay? Now, and then also, if I should say terrorist, if I say terrorist, most people will have the picture of someone from some part of the world. I'm not going to name it, maybe wearing a beard and a turban or whatever have you. But we have, take the U.S., there are terrorists all over the place. We have nothing to do with wearing turbans and beards and whatever have you. There are certain mental images that we have, which also impact the way we look at the world. All right? And then meaning and truth conditions. As I said, I'm skipping some of these. To say that something is meaningful means it is true under all conditions. So that, for example, if you say Samuel is a professor, there has to be someone called Sam, and that person must be a professor. Other than that, the sentence is wrong. Remember, I didn't say the sentence is meaningful. Why? Those of you in linguistics, you know the sentence that was given by Noam Chomsky. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. Pay attention to it carefully. Colorless green ideas sleep furiously. It's grammatically correct, but it's semantically anomalous. How can the thing be colorless and be green? Okay? So what I'm trying to say here is that grammaticality doesn't mean, or does not necessarily mean, or equal acceptability. All right? Now, and then compositional semantics. Oftentimes we say that we can tell the meaning of a word by looking at its components. Okay? Now, again, what the test I gave is, take the word disgraceful. Disgraceful. Does it mean this and graceful, that's not graceful? Or does it mean disgrace and full? For those of you in language study, depending on where you do your IC, depending on where you cut the word, okay, you can have a meaning. That's not what you intend. In fact, disgraceful means full of disgrace. It doesn't mean not graceful. Okay? So the point I'm trying to do here is that compositional, looking at the meaning of a word through its components does not always help. A red coat, for example, has nothing to do with red and coat. It's a royal guard. Okay? So, these are very important things that are... Now, so we go to B. You've taken what I said out of context. You've taken what I said out of context. Language use is very important. How you use it is very important. In what context? What are the choices that are available to us as speakers of English? Why do we make those choices? And what is the effect or the impact of what we say on other people? Okay? And those are very important. Now, language also could be linked with the ideology, either ideology of the speaker or of the language. Here's an example that I've quoted. So for those of you who are a little older, old, like me, or maybe older, Kwame Kwachi, an influential member of President Nkrumah's CPP government, is alleged to have said about Dr. J.B. Dankwa, J.B. Prof. no edde. Na yetinya wakana senso yempe. Nkrumah de na yepe, Nkrumah de na yente ase no, ene na yepe. Okay? J.B. is a competent speaker of the English language, and we understand what he says, but we don't like it. Even though we don't understand what Nkrumah says, that's what we like. And that's very significant. Okay? What it means is that language is thus more than just an abstract entity. Language is more than just an abstract entity or a mere articulatory practice. It is a person who speaks it. English language that is spoken well, say that it enhances understandability, is appreciated. But the political ideology of the speaker puts acceptability in jeopardy. All right? Now, here's a conversation I recorded many, many years ago. So, talking with a friend, Eja AM, na when I talk about Abanomano, me to my Dr. Liman, Adain, Oka French, wahe. We are the Gyasi to Aba. Yeah, no French in Agro. Okay, so, Mr. AM, whom did you vote for? I voted for Dr. Hilary Liman. Why? He speaks French. Oh, are you serious? Is this something upon which you cast a ballot? You know what? He speaks French impeccably. Now, what is interesting here is that the person's knowledge of the French language convinced this person, okay, AM, to vote for him. Okay? And language becomes very important in that particular political context. Now, I have language and their status here. Let's assume that an educated person, okay, who's in the Ghanaian society, if a highly educated person's English language is bad, you can hear this from an Akan speaker. He's highly educated, and yet his English language is horrible, which is a mistake. We shouldn't judge people by their English. And then an Akan born is expected to speak what society perceives as good Akan, such that failure to do so may be met with the expression, incredible. How come he's an Akan born and yet speaks Akan so badly? So here what we see is that a certain kind of status is attached to a particular language usage. Say that if you do not meet the expectations of society, you get bad evaluation. Okay? Now, here's the one that I found most interesting. Language and social action. We can use language to give an opinion, to fight, to insult, to show contempt, to advise, to curse, to bless, and to admonish. Here are examples that were recorded. These are authentic examples. Ama yes in Kufi. Ama is better than Kufi. If you mess with me, I will mess with you. Okay? Penny, ugly idiot. Okay? Now, contempt me jaino. I have divorced him. He is poor and his underwear is small. I'm not going to explain underwear. Now, or you can use it to advise. Give up on words when he's angry. To curse, to bless, to admonish. Okay? Now, so what I'm saying here basically, and I'm not going to, I have details here, I'm not going to share those. I want to kind of be able to run through this very quickly. Language plays an important role in politics. You find it used in parliament, in the passing of bills. And here, I think I want to say something. A couple of years ago, there was a member of parliament, I believe from Akwatia, whose English language was called into question, and she was ridiculed. As a linguist, I was so angry. I thought the worst thing that we could do as a society is ridicule somebody because they don't speak so-called competent English. None of us do. I don't. And then also in diplomacy, we use language, to sign treaties. Negotiate. In commerce, can you imagine going to Mokola market, Kotokraba market, or Kajetia market, and just standing there without talking? Language is essential in commerce. And we're talking about local commerce and international commerce. Okay? And then for law, we know the importance of language. In fact, quite recently, a colleague of mine from Legon, Akua Campbell, and I have been working on the language of the district and circuit course here in Ghana. And we've been looking at issues of turn-taking, power, status, and it's very interesting the extent to which language plays a very important role in Ghanaian juridical discourse and in Ghanaian jurisprudence. Okay? In education, I don't even have to mention this. We use language to teach, to theorize, to write papers, to share, as I'm doing now. And in religion, hey, you know what? We studied what is called glossolalia. Glossolalia is speaking in tongues. That's different from xenoglossia. For those of you who know scripture, on the day of Pentecost, these guys were speaking in languages they have not studied. Those people were speaking human language. That is called xenoglossia. Okay, xenoglossia. Now, there are also cases where people speak gibberish. Shibilaba, shibilaba, shibilaba. I don't know whether you've heard that. I tried to learn it. I wasn't successful, but, this is something that people do. Okay? It's called glossolalia. And studies have been done on this. It's not human language. It doesn't come from the language centers of the brain. It comes from the social, the emotional side of the brain. What that means, it satisfies both those who do it and those who don't believe in it. For those who do it, it confirms that it is angelic. And for those who don't believe in it, some have called it, what do you call it, brain whatever. But it's interesting how, as a linguist, you can study xenoglossia and glossolalia and see how language impacts religion. And then, of course, what I'm trying to say here is that without language, human activity will be impossible. Now, I want to shift to liberty. My heart is in this one. I've been very much interested in liberty since 2017, not too long ago. And, it stems from the way I see, liberty, the way it is written about in the literature. And, wait, let me give you an opportunity to also see. I'm sorry I didn't do that. Okay. the way, liberty is construed and implemented in various societies. Man, some of the things I may say may be controversial. Pardon me for saying them. I'm an intellectual. I only tell what I've seen. Okay, so if you're offended, please forgive me. But I'm going to say things here. Now, personal and political freedoms, this is what Elias and Zalewski talk about. These are political scientists. If you look at humans, it's kind of interesting because we call ourselves Homo sapient. We are the wise species. Homo loquient. Okay? We have speech. Speech is unique to us. Homo grammaticus. We are the people who have what? Grammar. Our languages have grammar. And to that I'm adding Homo libertas. We are born free. And if you want to test this, look at kids when they begin to crawl. They crawl away from their parents, and their parents want to bring them back, and they crawl right back to where they were prevented from going. They don't want to be intruded. Sometimes as they grow, they can even push an adult hand, okay, to go where they want to go. So the theory that I'm working on with a colleague in neuroscience is that I think I'm postulating that liberty is also situated in the part of the brain for reasoning, for remembering, and where languages will have to, do more than just what I've just said. Now, what I'm saying is that liberty is a fundamental aspect of human essence, okay? It is necessary in our empirical self, okay, and experience. And it's embedded in our social and cultural practices. We seek freedom from oppressive controls, which is imposed usually by adults, authority, on our way of life. And without liberty, the empirical self, empirical altar, and the commune come to naught. Now, here is the way I view liberty. I view liberty as a cognitive construct situated in the brain, okay? It's also a philosophical construct. And in fact, I got this idea from Sir Isaiah Berlin, a British philosopher, who wrote about this in the book called 4 Essays on Liberty. He talks about liberty from and liberty to. Liberty from is negative liberty. And liberty, to, it's talking about positive liberty. We want freedom from authorities, from government, from social institutions, from parliament. Parliament should not control what we do. It's idiotic. All right? It's not possible. Why should I be? If we seek liberty, if liberty is part of our being, then no one should control our liberty. All right? Now, I also view liberty, as a political construct. I want to be able to vote. I want to be able to form a political party. I don't have to go to school to form a political party. I don't have to belong to, any group to form a political party. I don't want to be stopped from voting by an act of parliament. They're intruding on my liberty. Liberty is a moral construct. Moral liberty is very important. We are as humans, we are moral individuals. We're looking for the common good. And common good should be common good based on the individual. There is an Akan proverb. Abusuya te se kwaye. Uwa chire bomutu. Na pi hu anamu se dua bia wo ni sibre. The lineage or the community is like a forest. If you look at it from afar, it's one unit. But once you enter the forest or you draw close to it, then you see that each tree has its own space. The community is because the individuals are. The obverse is not palpable. It's wrong. It should not be tolerated at all. Okay? I think of legal liberty. And in talking about legal liberty, I'm stealing from Williams. Well, it's kind of become something very popular in the US, where if you have an administrative appointment, people start looking at your work. I'm talking about what happened at Harvard and these places. Oh no, she copied this and that, And under legal liberty, there is one thing that I am so much interested in that I want to talk about, which is, quite recently in Greenwood, Indiana, a private citizen took an AR-14 and began killing people. Guns, the guns, US and the guns. Okay, and then there was another private citizen who had a gun and killed a criminal. Now, even though by killing the criminal, he committed a crime. He was not charged. It came under what is called necessity. He prevented this guy from killing more people. In fact, on the news, he was described as a good Samaritan. I couldn't stop laughing. I said, yes, we are in Indiana. What can you do? Yes. A similar thing happened in New York. Okay? So the point here is that, under legal liberty, we're looking at so many things. Under thought. Okay? Does it help advance society? Is it done within the law? To what extent does the law allow something? Okay? And then, of course, I talk about fiscal liberty. I want to be able to make money. I don't want anybody to stop me from making money. If I can make money, let me make it. If I make money unlawfully, arrest me and put me in jail. Am I too excited? That's why he's doing that. And put me in jail. But as humans, we seek what? Economic liberty. We want to be free, okay, to do business. We want to be free to go to Kotokraba and negotiate good prices for ourselves. We want to be able to have good economic negotiation with the U.S. There's something very funny in world politics and world economy. When developed countries are not doing well, it is attributed to world economic order. When developing countries are not doing well, they attribute it to incompetence and mismanagement. That's stupid, isn't it? All right. And then, of course, there's health, liberty, Now, here I'll say two things. The U.S. has done very well, with the healthcare system, but healthcare is very expensive. I had a stem cell transplant, and the bill that was sent to me was over $200,000. Of course, I negotiated with the health. I ended up paying about $35,000. But it's expensive. If you don't have the money, you die. That's not health liberty. Now, in Ghana, I want to congratulate you. I want to congratulate us, especially President Kufuor, for the health insurance bill. No matter how bad it is, that Ghanaians may say it is better than nothing to have healthcare insurance. And then also the school feeding program, was it President Akufo-Addo who instituted it? It's a very important healthcare issue. And Ghana should be congratulated. Other African countries have not done it. All right? Now, one thing I also mention here is that I view liberty as perfect. Liberty is perfect. So if we see any imperfections, it is because of us, not because of liberty. And then finally, I argue that liberty is a universal phenomenon. It's a universal phenomenon. All humans have it. It is either taken away from them by force or stolen from them. Let me now talk very briefly about politics and then move on to... okay, this is not working. I can go on talking. There you go. Okay. Now, what is politics? I'm not going to define it. I've given you some characteristics here. I put question marks all over the place. Is it a study of people and the life they lead in organized societies? What is it? Okay? A mass of lies, evasions, folly, hatred, schizophrenia. This is Orwell. Okay? Not me. It's very difficult to define politics. What is it? So normally what I tell people is, say it in your own language. That might help. Amanyo in tree. Okay? Amanyo doing a nation. Now, mine can be a town, it can be a county, it can be a nation. Okay? How do you organize people in society with regard to not just voting and political office and stuff like that, but how you organize yourself as humans? Now, here what I'm saying is that the political products here, as far as I'm concerned, politics is work. Okay, you should consider politics as work. It is work. And it's also an institution. And, for those of us whose profession is language, we see differences in political speeches, from ordinary conversations. The way we talk as I'm saying normal, in parentheses, humans, is different from the way language is used in political discourse, or the way language is used in law, or in health, okay? It is so some of the products are political speeches, campaign orations, constitution, the national anthem, and whatever have you. Now, and what I've said here, this is a statement I borrowed from the Polish anthropologist Bronisław Malinowski. For any discourse to be termed political, its overall context of situation, must be political in form, content, setting, and extent. Now, I hear again what I'm mentioning something very interesting here, which is that political discourse is unique in terms of the way language is used. Political actors can manipulate, certain words to mean different things for them. For example, the pronoun we can be used to mean different things. Okay? I mean, you've all heard of the royal we. Okay? So we can be all of us, or it can be those of us sitting up here, or it can be all of you minus me. Okay? It depends on how the political actor wants to use the pronoun. And then, of course, there's the pragmatics of political discourse. Name calling. Name calling. If you're from the US, you know what I'm talking about. Former President Trump has given every political actor a name. Crooked Hillary. Help me here. Crazy Bernie. And you can go on and on and on. And the names work. Disantimonious. I mean, the names are given say that as soon as you see the person, you begin to use the name also. And so name calling is, one thing which is used by political actors, to, if you like, delegitimize someone else. If you are called or referred to as crooked, everybody sees you as not being truthful. And even though you may be truthful, they begin to use it. So name calling is very, very common in political discourse. And then, of course, the role of phonetics. Since I'm a phonetician by training, I'm interested in, the use of phonetics here. And again, if you listen to our political actors here, okay, they all have their unique, phonetic features. Take President Akufo-Addo. We were with him about an hour and a half ago, okay. He has a unique, I'm using the wrong word here, accent of English, okay. It's very Akufo-Addo, okay. Now, Rawlings also had a unique Rawlings accent, so that whenever you heard him, you knew it was Rawlings, okay. There are these phonetic features that may be associated with them. It's possible that they may speak in ways that are different, from the way the rest of us speak. And one thing that Rawlings did, for example, was sometimes he will code switch and code mix with a can and a man to a he would issue something which is very funny, and people loved him for it. So these are particular features, that political actors use. Here, I won't waste much time. I'm using Ghana's constitution, the national anthem, speeches by Nkrumah, Dankwa, Kotoka, and Edubuahin. In the paper itself, which is done, I also look at examples. I also look at data by Kennedy Japan. I don't know whether he's here. I love the guy. He's very blunt. So, I have a text from him. And then there's Oliver Baka Vomawa. That's young. I like him too. Very blunt. So as a linguist, I don't care about what the content of what they say as much as, how they say it, okay? These guys are using resistive language to challenge authority. And as a linguist, I'm interested in the linguistic features that are used in those languages, all right? Now, I've used my own theory on language and liberty, and basically what this theory says is that, in resisting people in authority, people use certain kinds of nouns, verbs, adjectives, particular sentence types, phrases, and whatever have you. And this is very important here because I don't know whether you've been to the Apua Festival of the Bono people. I have it in the paper itself, where young people and even old people, they stand in front of the king and then say what they want to say. I'm not going to say some of the things here. Okay. I don't have a brain. So, basically, this theory is saying that, there is this speech or language that people use in challenging the validity claims, of people in power. Okay? And so, what I'm saying is that by looking at the language, you can tell the political affiliation of the person who is talking. If the person, for example, is an NPP guy, what are particular nouns you are going to hear? They're going to talk about, issues of development that they've done, You know, they'll talk about school feeding. They'll talk about free SHS. You know, they'll talk about things that are in favor of them. If it's the NDC, they're going to say everything these people have done is wrong or bad. I don't blame them. That's how politics is. Okay? You're not there to make the other person happy. You tend to what we call delegitimize them. And delegitimization is very important in political discourse here. All right. Now, and in all this, one thing that I want to emphasize is that the perlocutionary effect of what is said on the political actor is very important. If I say something about you, the effect of what I say on you is very important. But then also the cost and reward is very important. So language comes with costs and rewards, okay? Now, here, let's look at, this is the fun part. Let's look at Ghana's constitution. And I've taken just one extract from it. Every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty, and no person shall be deprived or deprived of his personal liberty except in the following cases, and in accordance with procedure permitted by law. A person who is arrested, restricted, or detained shall be informed immediately. A person who is arrested, restricted, or detained for the purpose of bringing him before a court in execution of an order of a court or upon reasonable suspicion of his having committed or been about to commit a criminal offense under the laws of Ghana, and who is not released, shall be brought before the court within 48 hours after the arrest, restriction, and detention. Where a person arrested, restricted, or detained under paragraph A or B of clause 3 of this article is not tried within a reasonable time, then without prejudice to any further proceedings that may be brought against him, he shall be released either unconditionally or upon reasonable conditions, including, in particular, conditions reasonably necessary to ensure that he appears at a later date for trial or for proceedings preliminary to trial. A person who is I like this one. A person who is unlawfully arrested, restricted, or detained by any other person shall be entitled to compensation from that other person. Now, as a linguist, when I look at this clause, it's beautiful. You know, you look at the first sentence, every person shall be entitled to his personal liberty. Okay? Every person. The quantifier every means all. Okay? And then he says, then there's the antithesis. Okay? No person shall be deprived or deprived of his personal liberty except, okay, then the, what do you call it? All the exceptions are given. Now, if you look at the exceptions, the words arrest, restrict, and detain feature prominently. Now, what I'm arguing here is that these verbs have the semantic subcategorizational feature of minus liberty and plus pain. Okay? If you are arrested, restricted, or detained, you don't have liberty. Okay? And that's very important. I mean, it features, and then, of course, you look at the expression, a reasonable time. A reasonable time, okay? This gives jurists, lawyers, judges, you know, the authority to interpret what reasonable is, okay? And then conditions reasonably necessary. Now, what are the conditions that are reasonably necessary? Could that involve being slapped here and there? Is that reasonable? No, it's not. You know, the point here is how, not just how the law or the Constitution says, but how it is interpreted and how it is implemented. Okay, these are very important to me as a linguist. Okay. Now, I just thought this might be interesting. Let's look at the national anthem. Now, we all know how to sing this, and I'm not going to ask us to sing it. You know, God bless our homeland, Ghana, and make our nation great and strong. Now, I'm interested in this one. Bold to defend forever the cause of freedom and of right. Now, what that tells us, the word bold is telling us, you know what? We shouldn't be afraid. If you are defending something, okay, you have it, don't you? You're defending it. If you don't have it, you are fighting for it. But, if you have it, then you defend it to prevent people from taking it away from you. And that, connects with liberty being what? Intuitive, something that we have. Ghanaians have their liberty, okay? And so they will fight for it. And then he says, and help us to resist oppressors' rule. And that's also very important. Ghanaians are aware that their liberty can be taken away. Our liberty can be taken away. Now, at the time that this was made, their attention was probably, to the West, the oppressors. But now we have become our own oppressors. We're passing laws that restrict the behavior of people. Who dare we? And then if you read on, it says, to all who thirst for liberty, okay, where the banner of Ghana freely flies, may the way of freedom truly lie. Okay, to all who thirst for liberty. The word thirst is a metaphor. It's a biological term, isn't it? I mean, if you're thirsty, you want to drink some water, don't you? Yeah, so, for all who thirst for it. So the metaphor here, I don't know if you've read, for those of you who've read George Lakoff and Johnson's book, Metaphors We Live By. Okay, so we live by metaphors. The word thirst here is metaphor, and so we have liberty, we want liberty, and we're going to, and here it says, where the banner of Ghana freely flies. That tells us Ghana is free. Nkrumah said it, didn't he? Ghana is free, free indeed, free forever. If we're free, then we must be free. May the way of freedom truly lie. Okay? Now let me turn to the man himself, Kwame Nkrumah. Okay? Now, his speech is long. I took only 3 paragraphs, and I'm not going to read all of it. But I want to just emphasize a few things here. It says, I'm interested in, the word accelerate the process of liberation. Ghana's ascension to independence, anachronism, should cease. Okay? So let's take these one by one. What does accelerate mean? You're talking about speed. You're not talking about ordinary speed. Okay? So here Nkrumah is talking about what? It says our second major preoccupation, which has already been given prominence in our freedom and our foreign policy, is to accelerate the process of liberation. So he's talking about what? Speed, not ordinary speed, but accelerando speed. Accelerando, ralentando, yeah? Aha. So we need it, and we need it now. In the end, he talks about, time is short. Okay, Nkrumah says time is short. So he's telling Imperial Britain, oh dear. Nkrumah is telling Imperial Britain that, you know what, we don't have time, we're wasting our time. Ghana has its independence, give other countries their independence. Time is short. Okay? And then he goes, he says, colonialism is what? An anachronism. It's a cake. It's useless. Who is left colonizing the other? Which human being, is forcing another human being to do what they want, stealing their gold, and then giving them laws? It's things of the past. And I'm talking about Nkrumah those days. Okay? And then, of course, he talks about Ghana, which has been in the vanguard of the freedom movement. The word vanguard is very important. Ghana being ahead. Ghana was the first black African country to gain independence. Liberia's case was different. Okay? And then, of course, he also talks about the strong forces of nationalism. And for those in syntax, I'm interested in the fact that, strong forces is front-shifted, to nationalism, to give emphasis. Okay? Remember, the title of the speech is what? The African Hurricane. And if you know what hurricane is, when hurricanes are coming, you better hide in your basement. It can take your building away. So Nkrumah's speech, the entire speech was a metaphor. Based on the fact that, if you don't give us our freedom, if you don't give Africa its freedom, things are going to be tough. Now, let me look at J.B. Danquist, and maybe I'll skip a few here. J.B. Danquist was writing from jail, and he'd been incarcerated, he'd been imprisoned by Nkrumah, wrongly, illegally, and so he wrote to Parliament, the Ghana National Assembly. And look at the way he begins it. This is very interesting. I, the undersigned free citizen of Ghana, arrested and detained on 3rd October 1961. Let's look at that. I, the undersigned free citizen of Ghana. This guy was in jail, but he was writing, indicating that he was a free citizen of Ghana. Okay? Now, here, it's kind of, It's a kind of a paradox, isn't it? You can have your freedom no matter where you are, and you can still fight for it. And so for Dankwa, liberty was a moral thing, it was a political thing, and so he had to fight for it. In fact, he fought for it dying, and he died in jail. And there is something here that I want to read. He says, "Open my eyes that I may behold the wonders of thy law." He's quoting from the Bible. He's quoting from Psalms, the book of Psalms. And it's kind of interesting here. Open my eyes that I may behold the wonders of thy law. He wasn't talking about what is in the Bible. He was engaged in what is called intertextuality or polyvocality. He was using the voice of the psalmist, David, to talk about the fact that, why doesn't God open the eyes of Nkrumah and the CPP so that they will know what is right under Ghana's laws and Ghana's jurisprudence? He and other people wrote the Constitution. Nkrumah was aware of it. Nkrumah had been to jail with him. And so for him, it was surprising that Nkrumah would keep him in jail. Now, here's another one, the irregular, unjust, and lawless manner. So you look at the words irregular, irregular, unjust, and lawless. These are very big words here in terms of their semantic import. What do these words mean? Things have not been done right. Now, so basically what Dankwa is saying in this letter, is that liberty is something we have. We can fight for it no matter where we are. Damn the consequences, pardon my language. And that he was willing to use language. In fact, if you read the letters, Nkrumah had said that because Dankwa kept writing to him, he was very angry with him. The other detainees were going to be released, but Dankwa wasn't. But Dankwa didn't stop. He continued to write until he died. It's like Socrates, isn't it? For those of you who studied classics. When Socrates was given poison to drink, he could have caused his family to come and cry, mourn, plead. He said, I'm gonna drink it. So here what Dankwa is telling us, is that the laws should be followed. If we make laws, we should follow the laws. And that also, hinges on Parliament making good laws. Because Parliament is our legislatures. All right. Now, here's one that is very interesting. This is Kotoka. Kotoka announces the overthrow of Nkrumah. Fellow citizens of Ghana. Now, that tells you the people he's addressing. I've come to inform you. We call fellow citizens of Ghana, that's the salutation. It tells us about the addressees. I've come to inform you. It's a pre-announcement. When someone tells you, I've come to inform you, it means get ready for something that is coming. And then it goes on that the military, in cooperation with the Ghana police, have taken over, the government of Ghana today. The myth surrounding Nkrumah has been broken. Parliament is dissolved, and Kwame Nkrumah is dismissed from office. All ministers are also dismissed. The Convention People's Party is disbanded. With effect from now, it will be illegal for any person to belong to it. Now let's look at some of the words very quickly. The expression have taken over, have taken over means it was forcibly taken. It was forcibly taken. It wasn't given free of charge. There was a fight. Now, today means now, so it's telling us when it began. The myth, another interesting word, it means there was some fear of invincibility surrounding Nkrumah, and so these guys are telling us, that is broken. And then, of course, look at the words carefully. Broken, dissolved, dismissed, disbanded. All those words come from the same semantic area. To dissolve, there's physical force here. Something is broken. You break it, Something is dissolved. Somebody is dismissed. And something is disbanded. Here we can look at liberty from two perspectives. On the one hand, and let's be fair, there's no good coup, There's never a good coup d'etat. All coup d'etats are wrong. They're dangerous. So this wasn't a good coup. Let's not kid ourselves here. But, So, I mean, if we look at it from the point of view of Nkrumah and the CPP, their liberty was taken away. Their liberty was taken away. These words tell us that their liberty had been taken away. But then, of course, we also know that the CPP and Nkrumah, had done things that sections of the community didn't like. So the coup, also, in a way, was in their favor. So it was liberty taken away from the oppressor, liberty given to the oppressed. And these two perspectives are very, very important. Now, let me end the excerpts, and then I'll do brief discussion and conclusion. In 1987, when I returned from England to Ghana, young lecturer, I was in my 20s. I think I was 26, 27. No, 26. Professor Dubois was giving the Dankwa Memorial Lectures. And, as I sat in, there was one thing he said that stuck with me. And I read a book, and I loved it. And the proverb that he used was, literally, you've killed the rooster or the hen, You've killed the flower bird, How are you going to govern? How are you going to wake up? The rooster gives the wake-up call, And the butterfly bird tells farmers it's time to go home. For those of us, who grew up in the forest, when you heard, hoo, 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 that Obeng bird, it means stop working and go home. It's time to go. So what Adubuahi was saying basically was that you have muted those voices of opposition, those voices that will tell you, do this, don't do this. You're going to have a political implosion. That's what he was telling J.J. Rawlings. Now, what is interesting is that Adubuahi's speech, formed the basis that got rid of what had become known in Ghana as the culture of silence. For those of us in discourse theory, we call it giving up on words. You have something to say, but you are not saying it. At the time, Ghanaians had a lot to say, but they were scared to say it. So Professor Dubois, and to this I also have to add, there were journalists like P.V. Ansa, wonderful guy, Elizabeth Ohene, and these days you have Kwakuba Akom, Malik, you have all these wonderful guys, who, in one way or the other, are giving you the wake-up call. They're giving the political actors the wake-up call and the time to stop doing something. And any government that silences the press is doomed to fail. If you don't believe what I'm doing, what I'm saying, look, I'm not going to mention any country's name, but look at those countries where journalists are not free or they are killed. They are stuck in maniac male dictatorships. Now, here are a few things that I want us to take with us. For discussion, what I want to argue is that dominated Ghanaian political actors employed communicative strategies that resisted perceived or real intrusion on their liberty and well-being. And their fight for liberty came because of what? Liberty being intuitive, liberty being part of the human experience. We want to be free. Why? Because we were born free. And freedom is very important. Now, dominated actors negatively presented the dominant actors' actions as acts of enslavement. In fact, Nkrumah equated colonialism with enslavement, suppression. Dankwa felt suppressed, wanton disregard for human life and human dignity. Now, Oliver Barker-Vomawo, if you listen to his speech, he makes mention of these things too. Now, working within the theory of language and liberty helps to unearth language's role in the fight for liberty by political actors in different political domains. It also showed how language indexed and was indexed by, the politics. This one is not listening to me, is it? There you go. Now, it also shows how language, was indexed by Ghanaian political practice. Now, here is one thing important that I want us to take with us. In looking at language and liberty, we have to take note of the linguistic units that are used, the linguistic strategies, special nouns, special verbs, particular voice quality. I didn't talk about voice quality enough. But, sometimes you can tell by the voice quality. Let me kind of demonstrate it. Let me demonstrate it, And this is, this is very, very important to us. And this is very, very important to us. Okay, this is very, very important to us. Now, if I use these two different voice qualities, they signify different things. When I use the breathy phonation, okay, I'm trying to tell you I know what I'm saying, and I'm trying to convince you to, and when I use creaky phonation, and this is very, very important, it could be that I'm angry. It could be that I'm saying something for which I'm probably not comfortable with. So voice quality is very important, okay? And then, of course, one thing which is important is that if you look at the studied discourses, you'll find that the study for liberty created an environment anticipated to strengthen democracy. And this is very important. If we look at the language used in the fight for liberty, it tells us about the bankruptcies of democracy, but then also it tells us about way in which, liberty can be, or how we can even build a nation. These are very important issues that I think are very dear to me, and I'm sure, I hope they become dear to you also. Oh dear. Okay. So I'm skipping that one. Now, we must view liberty as unalienable, an unalienable right, a denial of which presents the dominant actor as what? Amoral. Okay? Now, if we take it as axiomatic that liberty is unalienable to our being and our human experience, then impediments to its actualization must be exposed and eliminated. Variation in political actors, political and language ideologies have power to curb and shape the range of speech acts employed in the fight for liberty. Different forms of speech, the variations that we use are very important because they shape what we can say and how we can say it. And of course, the perlocutionary effect, what I mentioned earlier, these are very important. Now, here are some concluding remarks. And again, I'm going to skip some of it. The centrality of liberty in human experience and social practice must be accepted. It must not be called into question. Liberty is central to our human experience. And it is relevant and significant to any nation building. If we want to build Ghana, we must respect liberty. Any country that does not respect liberty is doomed to fail. It's going to become a dictatorship. Okay? Now, liberty must not be seen as marginal. It must be seen as something that is permanent in our political lives. We must not see or consider it as a remnant, We must not see, oh dear. Always forget that. Maybe I should just ignore it. Now, one thing that I want to leave with you here is that liberty is and must be empowering. Liberty must be empowering, okay? Now, if we neglect liberty, and this is a warning, if we neglect liberty, we are opening the door. Let's see if it will work now. If we neglect liberty, we are opening the door, okay, for dictatorship by bullies and those who hold the commune's so-called wants and values over and above individual liberties. The commune is because the individuals are. I think I made mention of this. We are all fully aware of what Stalin did in communist Soviet Union or Mussolini did in fascist Italy. And we Ghanaians are aware, okay, of what happened during the, coup d'etats, the tyranny, people being flogged, people planned public execution and stuff like that. If we don't talk about liberty, if we ignore liberty, we are giving bullies the opportunity to do what they want. Liberty is perfect. We are the people who can make it imperfect, and we should not make it imperfect. Now, the question I'm asking here, if we include the liberty of minority groups, ethnic, I don't like Evers, I don't like GAAS, I don't like Akans. Don't intrude on their liberties. I don't like people who are gay, to the extent that sometimes we even make laws about it. It's totally idiotic. We can do that. We cannot do that. Because once we allow those things to happen, then we are heading towards dictatorship. You go to a place like Iran and Saudi Arabia, and they have morality police. They have morality police. They arrest people and flog them in public. All right? It's something that is happening. And we shouldn't shy away from saying it. Who will be the next? The next may be those of us who are a little tall, although I'm tall in Ghana, I'm short in the US. Okay? Or it could be those of us who have big stomachs. You know? Or it could be very short people. You don't know who will be the next. If you are not affected by what is going on, and so you say, oh, well, yeah, let's do this, you are being what? Culpable also. And you shouldn't do that. Denying others the liberty to express their opinions, subjecting them to arbitrary arrest, and putting unreasonable restraint upon them is tantamount to denying society the moral good of liberty. And I'm quoting the words of J.B. Dankwa. Okay? And to blocking any genuine development of sincere principles based on rationalization or one's lived experience. To quote Sir Isaiah Berlin, freedom for the pike is death to the minnows, or the minnows. You know, sometimes those in power have to give up something. So the presidency may have to give up something. The presidency may say, you know what, I'm not going to sign this law. I'm a civil rights attorney. The Supreme Court may say no. It doesn't have to be that particular law only. It could be anything at all. There are laws that are passed, and if as citizens of this nation, if we keep quiet because it doesn't affect us, we are being part of it. We cannot hide under the banner of religion. I preach. If you come to Bloomington, I teach Sunday school, and I preach, but I also have a brain. I've been privileged to go to some of these hotspots and have met, you know, all these wonderful people, and I've sat down and talked with them, and I've asked them questions. And they've been very patient with me. Anybody who knows me knows I can ask difficult questions. I can ask questionable questions. They've been very patient with me. But then, don't tell me the Bible says this. It means you don't understand the Bible. You know, one of the, Professor David Crystal, very strong Christian, and linguist says, one of the original sins of humans is that we've given religion to people who don't understand how languages work. I was talking with someone who said Methuselah was over 900 years old. And I said, are you an idiot? How can that be? You know, you have to look at how they calculated age at the time. It means he was very, very old. That's all it means. Don't look at the figures. If you look at the figures, it means you don't understand language. All right? And then I was talking with someone who says, oh, but the Bible says this. And I said, are you sure you understand the Bible? Read down, go to the next verse, and go to the next verse. It says, don't eat pork. You like bacon, don't you? And he said, yes. I said, you are an idiot. How can you like bacon, okay, which the Bible says you shouldn't eat, and then hate the other person? Am I making sense here? I'm sorry if I'm kind of being overly excited about it, but I'm very passionate about it. I'm passionate about liberty, and I can't hide it. Okay? As Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. rightly pointed out, and I like this, injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. And to that I'm adding that denial of liberty anywhere and to any person or group of persons and through whatever means, especially language, is a threat to liberty for all and a threat to liberty everywhere. And before I say thank you, I want you to look at the squad. You know, I call us the squad, but my wife says no, squad has a bad meaning in American politics. It means we are progressive and we are too much to the left. Of course, I am to the left, she is to the somewhere. I don't know. But, you know, so that's a unit. That's me. That's my wife of 42 years. She's professor of public health That's my daughter, Samilia. She's a professor of surgery and endowed professor of surgery. That's my son, Emmanuel. He's an associate professor of epidemiology and biostatistics. And that's my last born, Barnabas. He's in the final year of medical school. And that's the unit. Thank you very much.
President of the Academy, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, I think Professor Obeng deserves another round of applause. He has spent his 65th birthday very well. Happy birthday and many happy returns again. Well, I have only three messages from the lecture. Now, the first one, the lecture has reinforced the complementarity of the disciplines. So he refers to language. Language will come from the brain, medicine. Language and psychology, science. And he mentioned a very important one, the whole issue of the manipulation of language by politicians. He mentioned a very important point that people speak intemperate language. They feel that, well, there is nothing wrong about what he said. He spoke it on a political platform, so it doesn't matter at all. And I think we as a country moving in an election year, we need to look at our language, that the language has become intemperate, it has become belligerent. That's the word, belligerent. We are actually drumming wars. Is it war drum, beating war drums? And I think we need to look at the context within which we speak our language. So the tone will have to change, the way we speak will have to change, and the context will have to change. I think that if you are addressing a political rally, you should use interpret language. It doesn't help anybody at all. So our politicians will need to learn that language is important, and you are not speaking to party faithfuls, but you are speaking to the whole nation, and therefore your language must be civil. I think that's very important. But of course, language at the same time will convey ideas, symbols, and whatever. So the language has its positive and its negative, size. Connotation. The third one, which is very important, which is germane to my discipline of political science, is the whole issue of liberty. And I would want us to go back to John Stuart Mill. He wrote a book, a very important book on liberty. And in that book, he made a very important point that there are inalienable rights. And the biggest of them all is the right to free speech. He made that important point that you cannot deny anybody his right to speak his mind. But over here, we have a situation where we used to live under the culture of silence. And in culture of silence, you can't speak. Even if you speak at all, maybe you don't know whether you are speaking at a beer bar or at a drinking bar, and then some security personnel will have tape your speech or what you have said, and becomes a very dicey issue. So we must also look at the whole issue of liberty. And if you look at Chapter 6 of the 1992 Constitution, it talks about the building of a free and just society. And building a free and just society hinges on the whole question of liberty. So my whole point, the whole lecture, stands on a tripod. The tripod of one, the interdisciplinary nature of what we are doing as scholars, law, religion, political science, history, the sociology, anthropology, language, what have you. The issue of the costs and the rewards, or the negativities and the positivities of language, and the issue about liberty. We cannot play with liberty if we want to move forward as a country. On that note, I'd like to thank Professor Gyasi Obeng for this stimulating lecture. The debate will go on, and I'm sure that after the lecture, people want to interact with you for discussion and then a debate on the issue. So thanks a lot. You have really spent your 65th birthday very, very well.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you agree with me that this has been a very interesting lecture. And let's also acknowledge and appreciate our chair for chairing this event. So we have a presentation to be made by the School of Languages, University of Ghana. If they are here, they can please step forward. Please come forward, yeah. Okay. All right. This is beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, School of Languages, University of Ghana. And the next is a cutting of cake with a team from Indiana University. So, daughter. Okay. All right, please, we want to acknowledge the sponsors for this lecture. First, we have Indiana University, USA. If they are here, they can just give us a wave. And then we have Glyco General Insurance Limited. Is there a team? Thank you very much. Thank you. And Perfect Personal Care Limited. Is there a rep from Personal Care? All right. Then we have Dr. Isaac Gyasi, Professor Cecilia Sam Obeng, Professor Dr. Samilia Obeng Gyasi, Professor Emmanuel Obeng Gyasi, and Mr. Barnabas Obeng Gyasi. I want to appreciate all of you for your kind support for this lecture. We want to also acknowledge some important dignitaries. So first we have Dr. Hilary Khan. She's the Associate Vice Chancellor, Indiana University, and I'm told it's her birthday as well. So let's appreciate her and the team from Indiana University. Let's see the team from Indiana. Okay, thank you. Let's also acknowledge the president of the academy, Professor Kofi Nti. Thank you, Prof, for coming. Prof Nti, my former dean, and he actually hired me to University of Ghana Business School. Then we have the vice president, the sciences section, Professor Isabella Kwachi, emeritus professor. Thank you. I have Professor Florence Dolphine, former Pro-Vice Chancellor, the first female Pro-Vice Chancellor of the University of Ghana. Thank you, Prof, for coming. I saw Honorable Professor Kwesi Yanka, former Minister of State for Tertiary Education and former Pro-Vice Chancellor, University of Ghana. I also want to acknowledge all fellows. I see Professor Techua Menu, Professor Kofi Ejekum, who gave us a lecture last week, and all fellows for coming and invited guests. Let me also acknowledge all fellows and invited guests who join us online. At least I know Professor Emeritus Professor Tego is online, and let's clap for them for joining. And thank you to all of you for coming. We want to acknowledge the participating schools. First of all, it's Esuom Basic School. Esuom Basic School. And then we also have Esuom Secondary School, ASEC. Presec Senior High. Presec Senior High. Then Accra Academy, Senior High. Accra Beleo. Please, let's take some few announcements and then we'll be out of here. So we have 3 upcoming lectures. The first will be delivered by Professor Kwesi Ampeni, a fellow of the Academy, and he'll be delivering his inaugural lecture on the topic, Performing Petition Kete Songs, Lineage and Kinship in Akan. And this will take place on the 30th May 2024 in this same auditorium at 5:30 p.m. The next lecture will be Professor Majid Izati, Chair in Global Environment Health, Imperial College, London, and he'll be giving a special lecture on the topic, Cities as Unusual Opportunities for Good Health. And this will take place June 18, 2024, in the same auditorium at 5:30 p.m. The third will be delivered by yours truly, Professor Joshua Yinde Naba Abo, a fellow of the Academy, and I'll be delivering on the topic, Rethinking Development Finance for Inclusive Green Finance. Are there financial stability implications? And this will be on the 27th of June, 2024, in this same auditorium. And I invite all of you to come. Thank you very much. And please, light refreshment is served, and I encourage all of us to stay behind and have some fun. Thank you very much.
and belongings unattended. Keep an eye on your belongings.
you.